This week on Cruisin' Collector's Edition, we have for you a very rare bird.
They made 7,500 of these cars.
And what could possibly be the smallest police car I've ever seen.
Used a Metropolitan as a police unit to enforce parking.
Plus,
you can't build a high quality car anymore if you aren't wet sanding and buffing.
Mike will show you how to get that mirror finish. That's coming up on Cruisin' Collector's Edition, presented by Blue Line Classics.
Welcome to Cruisin' Collector's Edition.
Today we're going to check out some cool cars from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. What do you say, Poncho?
Hit it, Cisco.
Did you bring a gas can?
Shut up, dummy.
Muscle car enthusiasts across the country are going to recognize this one, 1970 Pontiac GTO. The 70 Pontiac GTO is undoubtedly one of the most popular cars of the era. Pontiac definitely left the muscle car era on a high note with this one. In 1970, Pontiac produced about 32,000 GTOs. This model they made about 9,300 of. This has a WT-coated 400 cubic inch, 10.5-to-1 compression Pontiac 400 engine. It's backed by a close ratio Muncie 4-speed transmission. From 1968 to 1972, this was considered a GM A-body. GM A-bodies were the Buick Skylarks, Chevy Chevelles, Pontiac Le Manses, GTOs. They shared the same basic body style, but there's a little bit of variation between the fenders and the quarter panels. The same frame, it was used from 68 to 72, basically the same suspension throughout. This 70 GTO houses a WT-coated 400 cubic inch engine. The engine has 10.5-to-1 compression, 350 horsepower, and 435 foot-pounds of torque. This was a monster of its day. Had a 4-speed close ratio Muncie transmission with a posi rear end with 355-to-1 gears. This thing really got up and scooted. Total production numbers for this car in 1970 was about 32,000. This model was one of 9,348 with the 400 4-speed combination. This car's color is a beautiful color called Atoll Blue. It also has a blue interior. This car was just recently restored, has about 200 miles on it. It's fully documented. We have a build sheet. We have every piece of paperwork you'd ever want with a muscle car like this. This car also has the original Rally 2 wheels, Pontiac Rally 2 wheels. It's got polyglass Era Correct Goodyear tires on it, which we just located. In 1970, Pontiac restyled the front end of this car. It had 4 round headlights with an Endura front end, which was new for 1970. Although Pontiac did have a ram air setup in 1970, these are just cosmetic on this car. This car is what I consider to be a true muscle car. It's basically stripped down. There's no air conditioning, no power windows. It's a stripped down, just true muscle car. This car started as a 37,000 mile original survivor. It was just recently restored to the way it left the showroom. It was redone in the Enduro Blue. It's got the correct wheels, the correct Era tires. It's got the matching numbers engine. It's got the matching numbers transmission. The interior is mostly original. The carpet was replaced and the headliner was replaced. The car still houses the original dashboard as well as the original radio. It's very highly documented. We even have a build sheet with this car. The reason we added this car to our collection, I love Pontiacs. I love the color. I love the provenance of having the original matching numbers engine, transmission. We have the build sheet with this car. And any car restored to this level, this is very near a 100-point show car. We just had to have.
In 1954, American Motors started importing the Metropolitan to the U.S. What you're looking at here is a 1957 Nash Metropolitan. The production for the Metropolitan ran from 1953 to 1961. This was known as a subcompact, economical type of car. In the 50s, most American automakers thought that bigger was better. Obviously, that's not the case here. This was a pretty popular car in the 50s. The initial reviews of the Metropolitan were kind of mixed. However, most owners of the Metropolitan agreed that this was a good thing in a small package. This car is small in package, but it's pretty big on comfort. I'm 6'4" and I fit pretty comfortably inside. There were 4 series for the Metropolitan. This is a Series 3. In 1957, this car sold for $1,551 brand new. That was a pretty good deal compared to the other convertibles of that era. Our car is mostly original. It was repainted once to the factory correct color of sunburst yellow over white. It has the original interior, the original motor with only 50,000 original miles, and it still gets great gas mileage. The wheels are painted yellow to match the exterior of the car. It has small tires, but the wide whites and the Metropolitan hubcaps. In 1955, the Metropolitan went from a 1200cc motor to 1500 cc's, not really too much bigger than most of the American motorcycles made today. In the late 50s, some United States police departments used the Metropolitan as a police unit to enforce parking. These cars were small, easy to maneuver, easy to park, and they offered all-weather protection to the officers. Although this car does have a back seat, it's more suited for a picnic basket. A family of 4 in this car, there's just no way. It's a great car though to take a ride with your girl and head out for a picnic. As with a lot of cars from the 50s, this car rolls around with a Continental kit and a wide white tire on the back. It's a pretty fun car to drive. I wouldn't compare it to a Mustang or a Corvette, but it's pretty cool to take down the road, and you get a lot of looks when you're driving a car like this. Contrary to popular belief, my wife did not make me buy this car. This car falls into a niche of a vehicle that we just didn't have. It doesn't take up much room in the garage. It's a true collector's car, and it's just something that we thought we should have.
Welcome to the Collector's Showcase. This stunning, flawless 1967 Yenko Tribute Camaro is spectacular inside and out. The beautiful black paint and black interior are sure to turn heads. Powered by a true and highly sought-after 427 Copo engine with a TH400 transmission and 12-bolt posi rear end with 390 gears and rear stabilizer bar for outstanding performance, the frame and undercarriage are rock-solid metal, original and extremely clean. Aero straight, clean and solid from top to bottom. This is truly an incredible Camaro that can be driven anywhere with confidence. Check out this 1959 Ford Fairlane 500 Galaxy Skyliner with retractable hardtop and 55,000 original miles. This gorgeously restored and meticulously detailed investment-grade vehicle is certain to please any crowd and be a hit at any car show. Extremely clean with new engine gaskets, and the engine bay is meticulously detailed. Frame and undercarriage have been detailed beautifully and are rock solid. The convertible top was recently adjusted and works perfectly. This is a beautiful car from top on down. This 1966 Chevy Corvette Stingray is black on black, extremely clean with only 46,000 original miles. This is a two-owner car that is very well documented and has been very well preserved and pampered its entire life. Powered by a 1970 Corvette LS46 350 horsepower replacement engine with 380 foot-pounds of torque, the engine runs strong and performs excellently. The 4-speed manual transmission, disc brakes, and power steering make this Vet a dream to drive. Bumpers are original chrome and are in very good condition. The gorgeous interior even has the vertically mounted original AM/FM radio. All the cars in our inventory need nothing but new owners. For information on these or any of our cars, give us a call or visit our website, BlueLineClassics.com. The Metropolitan was designed in the U.S. and was patterned after a concept car, the NXI, which stands for Nash Experimental International. It was built by Detroit-based independent designer William J. Flajoll. Cruise In Collector's Edition, presented by Blue Line Classics, returns after this. Blue Line Classics wants to buy your classic car. We buy excellent condition classic, antique, and muscle cars and offer consignment services. We have an established customer base of eager buyers, and for consignment cars, we offer first-class marketing efforts with an impressive 100% sell-through rate. If you have a classic or muscle car you'd like to sell or take advantage of our consignment service, visit our website, BlueLineClassics.com, or give us a call. Selling your classic does not have to be a painful process. Give Blue Line Classics a call and start selling your classic today. Welcome back to Cruise In Collector's Edition, presented by Blue Line Classics.
1962. This is the year that Chevrolet debuted the new body style for its famous Impala. The Impala was a family man's car. This was a blue-collar American worker's car. If you want to look good, wanted a Chevrolet, this is what you drove. This was a family car. They made about 323,000 of these cars. The sticker price on this was about $2,800. This car left the factory with the 327 4-speed. It still has the same engine in it, same trans as it left the factory. This is an RB coated 327 that has 300 horsepower and 360 foot-pounds of torque. This car has an original 57,000 miles on it. Obviously, this isn't how it left the factory. It's been changed quite a bit. Now it's got air ride on all 4 wheels, and it sports 18-inch wheels in the front and 20 inches in the back. It's bagged, so it goes up and goes down, it rides smooth. This is what they consider a pro touring car with the wheels. It's also got an addition of disc brakes, power disc brakes at that. The body was just recently repainted, and the interior is all new. It's got bigger wheels front and rear, 18 in the front, 20 in the rear. It's got LED tail lights. Obviously there was a color change. They didn't have any, this is changed to a Hugger Orange. They didn't have Hugger Orange back in 1962. The car recently came back from paint. It was completely repainted, and obviously the way it sits, it didn't sit back then. The interior was recently replaced. The chrome bumpers were just redone. You look at the lines on the car, it's got beautiful lines. They scaled back some of the chrome and some of the trim from the cars from the 50s, as you notice. You also notice the orange color. This is pretty popular around the Cleveland area, you know, with the Browns and all. You might think I'm crazy, but I am a Browns fan, and the color just foots the bill. And although they made 323,000 of these cars, you don't see many that look like this. It just stands apart. The car's so clean, so solid. The looks and the lines, I just couldn't pass it up.
1964, the Chevy II Nova could be had with a 283 Chevy V8. This was in competition with the Ford Falcon, introduced a year earlier. In '64, Chevrolet also introduced the Super Sport model. Our 1964 Chevy Nova 2 has just underwent a beautiful restoration. We had disc front brakes, Flaming River steering, a Flaming River stainless steel tilt column, grand aluminum steering wheel, and a Ron Francis wiring harness. We also added a 10-bolt 373 posi rear end and dual exhaust. And to scoop this thing down the road, we put a 383 stroker crate motor from Pace Performance. This car is about 390 horsepower, and being that it's so light and compact, this thing really runs well. The interior in the car is basically stock, with the exception of a center console that we added. In 1964, Chevrolet produced about 40,000 two-door sedans similar to this. The production of the four-door is just about doubled this. The four-door was considered more of a family car, and these were considered more of a sports-style compact car. The car was very conventional in the period. It was priced right. It was a family car. It was compact. It was good on gas. The car was very conventional in 1962 when it was introduced. It proved to Ford that it can compete with them. It was a nice family car. It was economical. It was good on gas. 20 to 25 years ago, these cars were kind of considered the ugly duckling or the shoebox cars that GM built in the 60s. They've grown tremendously in popularity over the years, though. Most of these cars were either raced or some of them taken to the track in the slaloms. But there's a big calling for making these cars into pro touring cars, and it's just the size and the weight, the power ratio of these cars is just amazing. The reason we added this car to our collection, I had one of these a couple years ago that I restored. I did a full frame-off restoration on it, and I sold it a few years ago, and I've regretted it ever since. So this is kind of a replacement for it.
Since its introduction in late 1913, the basic shape of the Chevrolet bow tie has never changed. In 2004, Chevrolet began to phase in the gold bow tie that today serves as the brand's identity for all of its cars and trucks marketed globally. Cruise In Collector's Edition, presented by Blue Line Classics, will continue. Now, back to Cruise In Collector's Edition, presented by Blue Line Classics.
Hi, I'm Mike, and this is my garage. Today we're going to talk about something that I talk about quite frequently, and that's making the paint job all pretty by doing a wet sand and buff. You can't build a high quality car anymore if you aren't wet sanding and buffing. It's a pretty simple process, but also a time consuming process and something that takes some pretty good care. I've repainted this whole vehicle and I have sanded and gotten all that peel off. So I've already done the pre-sanding and started buffing some of the edges on this, but just to show you where we're at. Now, an orange peel, you know, is almost like it sounds. It looks like the peel of an orange. It has that ripply, bumpy. Well, after you take all those bumps out and you start with the smooth surface, there's where you go. Now, I always use the 3M compounds. A #1 compound, first cut, really will quickly bring it from that dull flat, taking away the shine, right back to a shine. But what it's doing is it's taking all those surface scratches out, but it's also putting some scratches in because it's a more aggressive cutting compound. Then you're gonna step it up to a #2 compound, change to a black pad, and then you're gonna go to a #3 compound with a blue pad, which is so smooth and it just puts a nice greasy finish on, and it just works out real well. You know, I've seen guys say, well, you know, I tried to buff with my buffer, and first thing I ask, is it a buffer or is it a polisher? A polisher that has an orbital motion will not do this. You will never get the shine back out of it. Those buffers are pretty much for applying wax, and that's about it. So we just put a little bit of compound on the pad. Right there, you see how pretty effortlessly that brings it back. Anybody can do this. What I suggest though is if you're gonna do this and you're not experienced, be careful, take your time. This is the part where everybody tends to rush also because, oh, your car's done. You wanna see it done. You wanna get there. You wanna be driving it already. You go too fast, you burn the paint. That's the biggest worry on buffing. Everybody worries about burning the paint. Don't really have to push a lot. Let the buffer do the work. If you do push too much, you can get warpage. You can get too much heat into the panel. You start getting that, you know, where you can move the panel around. It's not necessary. The buffer will do the work for you. This leaves a really nice greasy surface. This compound you do not have to go fully through. You buff it on, leave it a little hazy. Use a nice clean microfiber towel. Wipe it out through, and it turns out beautiful. And I always like to keep a nice detailer around for that splatter you're gonna get. You know, you can get all the little edges, the little stuff, polish her out, and you can easily see the difference from start to finish, where here you have that flat but dull finish, brought back to shine, smooth, beautiful. Guys want to have that nice finish. This is what they're looking for. This is what you want. Hope that all helped, and we'll catch you next week on Mike's Garage.
The most popular car colors today are shades of gray, white, black, gray, and silver, amounting to over 70% of total world car production. Cruise In Collector's Edition, presented by Blue Line Classics, returns in a moment. Blue Line Classics wants to buy your classic car. We buy excellent condition classic, antique, and muscle cars and offer consignment services. We have an established customer base of eager buyers, and for consignment cars, we offer first-class marketing efforts with an impressive 100% sell-through rate. If you have a classic or muscle car you'd like to sell or take advantage of our consignment service, visit our website, BlueLineClassics.com, or give us a call. Selling your classic does not have to be a painful process. Give Blue Line Classics a call and start selling your classic today. Welcome back to Cruise In Collector's Edition, presented by Blue Line Classics.
In 1979, Pontiac introduced the 10-year anniversary Trans Am. commemorate the 1969 Trans Am, which first rolled off the assembly line. This car is extremely rare. They made 7,500 of these cars. These cars were extremely well equipped, or what is referred to today as loaded. The only options available were the engine and transmissions. Again, they had the 403 Olds with an automatic, or the 400 Pontiac with a 4-speed transmission. The paint scheme was accented by a special 5-color hood bird which extends down over the hood and onto the side of the fenders. The only color was a 2-tone silver and charcoal paint on this car. The body of the car was also outlined in a special black and red stripe package, much like the earlier special edition striping of the earlier cars. There were also special badges or decals on the side of the car to commemorate and show that it's a 10-year anniversary car. All 10-year anniversary cars had a WS6 suspension package, which consisted of bigger springs, front and rear, as well as front and rear sway bars. Every 10-year anniversary car had a special silver interior with a shag carpet and a Firebird embroidered into the back seat. Every 10-year anniversary car had an engine turned or machined gear shift bezel, which accented the gauges very nicely. All the cars had silver interiors, which showed awesome at night. The T-tops also came in a mirrored finish. This is the first time Pontiac released this. It was later seen on some of the pace cars in the early 80s, but this is the first year. The 10-year anniversary car also had the turbo-style wheels, which were later seen in the early 80s turbo SE Trans Ams. All 10-year anniversary cars had a Y89 code on the build sheets. If you look at the VIN on this car, there's an X. That signifies a 10-year anniversary. All the other cars had an S and a W in the VIN. This car just underwent an extensive restoration. Every nut and bolt was replaced. Everything was either rebuilt, restored, or refurbished, back to as good as, if not better than when it left the factory. The reason we own this car is it kind of takes me back to when I was a little kid, watching Smokey and the Bandit, and going outside, sitting on the front porch and seeing these cars roll up and down the road. I thought only the cool guys owned them.
Thanks for watching Cruisin' Collector's Edition.
If you have a car you'd like to showcase or one you might want to part with, give us a call.
We'll see you soon.
If you have a car collection you'd like to share with our TV audience, give us a call at 216-701-6495.